Hello, I showed this book recently, How to Paint Landscapes Quickly and Beautifully, and in it uses a lovely mixture of watercolour and gouache. And there are quite a few step-by-step tutorials included in it. So since I got it, I've been on a little bit of I've fallen down a little bit of a gouache rabbit hole. I've got some Winsor & Newton Designers gouache and Holbein gouache, but I was curious to try out M. Graham's gouache. I didn't want to buy loads of new gouache, but I was very lucky to find on eBay some partly used tubes. So there's the 5-colour set with naphtha red, ivory black, cobalt blue, titanium white and azo yellow. And then it also came with these other tubes. So like M. Graham's watercolours, their gouache has got honey in as well. And I was kind of interested in this property because I want to make a gouache palette, so put the gouache paint into a palette and let it dry out. I've done that before with Winsor & Newton gouache, and it re-wets okay, but it does go quite crumbly and like breaks up a bit in the palette. So I was wondering if these softer gouache paints will last a bit better in the palette. I'm not going to do a full-on gouache comparison video and go into all the different properties of gouache, etc. here. There are some fantastic gouache comparison videos on YouTube already. I'm pretty used to Winsor & Newton's designer gouache, which for the most part is very opaque, but my understanding is that these M. Graham ones vary more in opacity based on the actual pigment in each paint, and they don't have things added to them to make them more opaque. I'm not sure yet if that's a quality which I like, because I do really enjoy the opaque nature of the Winsor & Newton paints. But I thought I'd have a play around with these today and try making up a gouache palette with them, and then also do a painting. I've still got one of these palettes left from when I used to store all of my tube watercolour paints in them. So it's a little bit stained and grubby, but that's absolutely fine. I've got 18 spaces in here and 11 tube colours, so I'm going to mix up some colours which I frequently use in landscapes. So to swatch out, I'm using a Himi gouache brush, and I'll use as little water as possible, so I've dried that on a tissue. Just to note, all of these colours have a number 1 light fastness, which is the highest, except for naphtha red, which has a 2. It feels very smooth, kind of easy flowing pigmented paint so far. I know I said I wasn't going to do a big comparison, but I'm just going to try out a couple where I've got the same pigment. So PB29 Ultramarine. So straight out of the tube, this paint feels a lot thicker, and it had some binder separation. Again, the white feels thicker. So I'd say that the M. Graham paints are more workable straight out of the tube and more transparent paints. So now I need to work out the additional 7 colours, which I want as convenience colours. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I want a dark purple, like a shadow colour. A pale purple. I want a dark olivey green. And I want kind of a lighter olivey green. I think I want a pale peachy colour. I think I'd like a mid-grey, and then I think some kind of sky blue. I want a more muted purple, so I'm going to go for the warm red. Actually, I'm probably not very sensible mixing it in here. I'm better off mixing it directly into the palettes because I'll waste loads transferring it over. Ooh, that might end up being my pale purple rather than my dark purple. Yeah, that's the kind of colour I'm going for. Let's lighten it up. So I've started putting everything into the right places in the palette. I've done a rough plan of where things go. And let's hope my mixing isn't too far off. I want my purple a bit kind of duller. Let's put some brown in. Actually, where does the brown go? Yeah, that's better. So in gouache, the lighter colours tend to dry darker and the darker colours can dry lighter. So I've just put a bit more white in on these two lighter colours. So that's quite a nice dark green. It's kind of like perylene green, but I think maybe I want it a tiny bit more yellowy and a little bit lighter. Oh, I just realised I missed out phthalo green. It should have gone in the gap there. Never mind, I'll include it now. So I'm quite happy with my extra landscapey colours, and yeah, I think that looks all right. I'm just going to make a swatch card now that will fit under the see-through lid. I'll leave this palette open for a couple of days now and let the paints dry out. Then I'll just have a look through here and find something to try painting now. This is such a good spread in this book. Honestly, there's so much in here. This is the same view painted out of Nathan Fowkes' office window. How different it looked depending on time of day and weather and everything. I quite like that step by step actually. So I'm just keeping my finger in the options. That one. I really like this little sketch as well. And that one. Okay, so I've decided to do this river scene, and I'm going to do it in this Hahnameuhle, kind of like a toned tan pad. So stage 1 in the book is to draw a simple pencil outline of the scene. I just used a regular HB pencil, though in the book a red coloured pencil is used. Okay, that's the second stage done then, which is like that. So that's a fairly thin layer of gouache, and I think it's best to start off thinnish so that you don't reactivate too much of it when you do the layers on top of it. And that was thoroughly enjoyable to do. The paints mix easily and smoothly. Right, now for the next step. So that's something vaguely like step 3. Again, it was still quite a thin layer of paint. And now I'll do a thicker layer on top. So that was a bit of a mess, although it was really, really good fun to do. And there's the one that I was copying from for step 4. My palette's a bit of a mess. I used all the white and I just had to clean out the yellow a bit. Obviously these are still wet, so I'll have a bit more of a re-wetting job to do when they've dried out. But I really do like this palette format. I think it's a good one. I'll just refill up my white and yellow. I'm not too worried about running out of white. I can just top up with Winsor & Newton white. I always got a couple of bigger ones on hand. I think I'll do one more quick one because I really am enjoying this. So this time I'm just copying this picture, there's no stages in it. So again, not brill, but lots of fun. And obviously I can't show you yet this palette, what it's like when it's dried out. But I'll try and remember to include it in a later video. Well, I'm glad I got to have a good gouache session. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Bye!